Well, this afternoon, welcome to everyone. Good to see you all here, and I'm enjoying this. We're on page 47 of For Seekers of God, and it's the Dol Purnima Festival at the monastery. The place is Belur, time March 6, 1928. It was the day of Dol Purnima. It's an ancient spring festival commemorating the fertility of the soil, but later associated with an episode in Sri Krishna's life, celebrated by worship and merrymaking, and popularly known as the Holi Festival. Now, at Holi, I believe, is the one time when they throw paints at each other, and everyone's wet and soaking. Everyone is multicolored and rainbowed. Since early morning, an intensive kirtana had been in progress. The sadhus and brahmacharis of the Belur monastery, as well as the devotees, were besides themselves with joy participating in the Holi Festival. While devotional music was going on, Ramlal Datta, the master's nephew, arrived from Dakshineshwar. Spiritual fervor and enthusiasm waxed 100-fold because of his arrival. He too joined the kirtana. Dressed in a sari, he was impersonating a female part. He started dancing. The song said, "We have discovered thee in the seclusion of the grove of Nidaban. We shall have the sport of Holi with thee, Shama," another name for Krishna. All encircled Ramlal Datta and began dancing. After a while, Ramlal Datta, still dressed in the sari, went upstairs to see Mahapurushji. In the afternoon, a devotee took his little son to Mahapurushji, saying, "Maharaj, please bless the child so that he may become good and upright." Swami, you yourself should first try to be good and upright. Then the child will be good and upright. It was about dusk. Mahapurushji was strolling on the balcony of the monastery building. Preparations were being made for Vespers when Ramlal Datta came to the balcony. Seeing him, Mahapurushji smiled and said, "Hello, Datta. You did splendidly in the morning. I could hardly recognize you at first. I was wondering who this woman might be. Later, I discovered that it was you, Ramlal Datta." Both had a good laugh. Ramlal Datta remarked, "I understand that many had initiation today." Swami, "Yes, Datta." Datta, "It must be quite strenuous to remain seated in one position for such a long time." Swami, "No strain to speak of. On the contrary, it gives me joy, great joy, to tell people of the Lord. So many come here with such yearning for spiritual instruction. I am overjoyed to see the earnestness and sincere longing of these people. It is the Master who draws them here. So long as this body lasts, I shall certainly tell people of God and give them His holy name. That is why I am spared by the Master." Datta, "You are so compassionate. That is why you do this at such a sacrifice." For a while they both kept silent. Then Mahapurushji, in a tone of seriousness, said softly, "Yes, Datta, as the days pass, I am becoming more and more convinced that Sri Ramakrishna is God himself. At first we used to visit him frequently, being attracted by his love. Now we realize in our amazement that although he looked and behaved like an ordinary man, he is of cosmic proportions. How many universes are within him?" Datta, "I too at first had a wrong notion of him. But once in a while, like a flash of lightning, I would glimpse his greatness. Then the next moment my mind would be veiled by doubts and misgivings. One day I asked the Master, 'Why does it happen that way?' He replied, 'Otherwise how would works of service,' meaning his personal service, 'and worship at the temple in Dakshineshwar go on? And who would look after your relatives?' Swami, yes, otherwise the Leela of the Lord cannot go on. Dada, now the number of his devotees has grown. During the last few years, his ideas have spread so much. How many people from distant countries, speaking strange languages, come and worship the grounds of the Panchavati Grove? They pick up some sacred dust of the place or leaves from the banyan or bell tree and carry them home. The Vespers began. The sadhus and devotees started singing the Vesper hymn composed by Swamiji, which is as follows. This is the translation of Kandana. Breaker of this world's chain, we adore thee, whom all men love, spotless, taking man's form, O purifier, thou art above the gunas three, knowledge divine, not flesh, thou whom the cosmos wears a diamond at its heart. Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. O drunk with love, God-drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who art born a child of our time, easy of access to us, to me. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities were practiced for our sake. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. Perfect, whom lust could not taint, nor passion nor gold draw near. O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills the hoofprint in the clay. Speech cannot hold thee nor mind, yet without thee we think not nor speak. Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Taker away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. Come to the heart's dark cave and illumine, thou light of the light. Dada, I like this hymn very much. Whenever I hear it, I feel the Master standing, absorbed in samadhi, and his devotees surrounding him, chanting it. Well, Maharaj, I will now go to the shrine. After Ramlal Dada left, Swami Shivananda said, in the early days of the monastery, a different hymn, as for instance, Om, glory be unto Shiva, worship Shiva, used to be chanted at the time of Vespers. Then Swamiji composed this hymn to Sri Ramakrishna and put it to music, introducing it at the monastery. He himself would play the pakwaj and lead the singing. What a wonderful sight. He was so divinely handsome and would put so much spiritual fervor into his singing. Place, Belur Monastery. Time, April 1928. Swami Shivananda had not been very well since his return from Varanasi. Often he felt dizzy. He could not walk much, and when he tried to walk, his feet trembled. If anyone asked about his health, he would say, "The body is not in good condition. There is always some complaint or other." All this indicates a summons for the final departure. I am ever ready to be gathered into the Mother's lap. By the grace of the Master, I am wholly convinced I am not the body. He has graciously given me that knowledge to the fullest extent. 19. Place, Belur Monastery. Time, July 7th, 1928. Swami Shivananda was seated in his room talking with a monk of the order. Several sadhus and brahmacharis were also present. In the course of conversation, the monk said, "Emotion is all in spiritual life. Reason shows merely a small portion of the way." Swami Turiyananda used to say that emotion draws one to spiritual pursuit, that intellect helps only a little. One cannot comprehend religion through reasoning and intellect alone. Swami, religion is, as Swamiji said, a matter of realization and experience. Before realization, the intellect rules. This the Master explained in his simple way. The vessel makes a gurgling sound when being filled with water, but once full, it is completely silent, quiet. What an apt illustration. Even his simplest utterances had such a deep meaning. The Upanishads also say, this self is not to be realized by scholarship, reasoning, or an extensive study of the scriptures. It is too true. How can man understand the self by his limited intellect? It is impossible. The Master used to sing, "Who knows what the mother is? Even the 6 systems of philosophy have not been able to fathom her." Saying this, Mahapurushji sang the entire song with great fervor. He repeated one line again and again. Only Mahakala and no one else knows all about the mother. After a while, like one aroused from sleep, the Swami said, "How can man understand the Absolute through the intellect? Comprehension is possible only if the mother is gracious enough to lift the veil." In the Nasadiya Shukta of the Rig Veda, there is a beautiful description of the Absolute in its undifferentiated state. With these words, Mahapurushji started chanting the Nasadiya Shukta. Nor aught for naught existed yon bright sky, was not, nor heaven's broad woof outstretched above. What covered all? What sheltered? What concealed? Was it the water's fathomless abyss? Ah, how profound it is. There, on that table, you will find a copy of this hymn, which I often read. It describes the state of deep meditation. Would you please read the rest of it? The monk read the hymn, and Swami Shivananda joined in the reading. There was not death, yet there was not immortal. There was no confine between day and night. The only one breathed breathless by itself. Other than it, there nothing since has been. Darkness there was, and all at first was veiled in gloom profound, an ocean without light. The germ that still lay covered in the husk burst forth, one nature, from the fervent heat. Then first came love upon it, the new spring of mind. Yea, poets in their hearts discerned, pondering, this bond between created things and uncreated. Comes this spark from earth, piercing and all-pervading, or from heaven? Then seeds were sown and mighty powers arose, nature below and power and will above. Who knows the secret? Who proclaimed it here? Whence this manifold creation sprang? He from whom all this great creation came, whether his will created it or was mute, the Most High Seer that is in the highest heaven, he knows it, or perchance even he knows not. The hymn filled everyone's heart with profound feeling. A Bengali translation of it was then read as requested by the Swami, after which he said, "You see here a description of some of the loftiest states of realization that are reached by yogis in the course of deep meditation. a level of consciousness beyond the reach of ordinary speech and mind, is mentioned here. Swamiji was fond of the Nasadya Shukta and would chant it so rhythmically in the right Vedic meter that one would feel as if a Vedic seer were repeating his own spiritual experience. Darkness there was, and all at first was veiled in gloom profound, an ocean without light. Swamiji would repeat this portion of the hymn and say that nowhere in any language would you come across such poetic beauty. In one of his writings, he brought out this idea nicely. Monk, yes, Maharaj. In Viravani, a compilation of Swamiji's poems, there is the line, "At first in darkness hidden darkness lay." Swami, yes, how well expressed. In this poem is a description of the involution of the cosmos. Everything emerged gradually from that unmanifest state. 20. Place Bellarmont. Time, December 7th, 1928. It was 5:30 in the afternoon. At 5:30 in the afternoon, Swami Shivananda was seated on the eastern veranda of the main building of the Bellar Monastery. It was winter, and the Swami had a lightweight flannel jacket on. Because of high blood pressure, he could not stand heavy clothes. At night, he used a lightweight bed cover. Some young devotees, all of them teachers in a school, had arrived. After saluting the Swami, they took their seats. The Swami inquired about their health and asked several questions concerning their school. How was instruction carried on? Were there arrangements for sports and games? For an interval, he sat silent, seeming to be in an indrawn mood. Sometimes he gazed at the river Ganga, and sometimes his eyes were half closed in meditation. Then he said softly, "Well, do you practice meditation for a while every day?" A devotee, "Yes, I do." Swami, "At what time?" Devotee, "In the afternoon following schoolwork, I take a little rest and then go to the shrine room and meditate. When there's not much to do in the morning, I meditate then also. If I cannot make time for meditation in the morning, I at least salute the Lord before going to school." Swami, "Salute the Lord, of course, but that is not enough. You should also try to meditate a little. Night is the ideal time for meditation. When you meditate, though for a short time, try to detach yourself completely from your work. Shaking off all worries and withdrawing yourself from everything, seek to be established in your own self. You should practice this at least once a day, even if only for a short while. Naturally, you have your duties and responsibilities in the world, your pains and pleasures there, but all of these are transient. This world is unreal. There can be nothing more certain than that. Though the work you are carrying on is no doubt good, for a while you will have to abstract your mind from even this and offer it at the lotus feet of the Lord, at the same time being absorbed in the thought of Him, who is the Supreme Father, the embodiment of truth and goodness. The Lord will then occupy your whole heart, and there will be no thought of this world, no thought even of your individuality. Pray to God thus: O Lord, give me faith and devotion, knowledge and discrimination. See that I do not get entangled in the snares of the world bewitching Maya. When you pray, pray with all your heart and soul. When you meditate, try to be one with God, to have the consciousness of unity and identity. One should, by all means, practice like this. My children, I repeat, at the end of the day, even if for a short while, lay aside everything and commune with God. In the beginning, you may have some difficulty in practicing meditation in this way, but there is no reason to stop trying. Pray to him, and he will give you peace. Out of his compassion, he will strengthen your heart and make you one with him. With the practice of meditation, peace of mind will grow, and then alone will you be in a position to undertake humanitarian activities in the right spirit. Know for certain that this world and all living beings are his. He is the creator. You are his servants. You are blessed to be the extent you are blessed to the extent that he, in his grace, allows you to serve his creatures. Meditation on God will obliterate the ego, and he will then be all in all. Only when your mind reaches this state will you be able to do genuine philanthropic work. Okay, 21. Place, Beller Monastery. Time, March 16th, 1929. Only 3 days ago, the worship connected with the birthday anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna was performed with great solemnity and splendor at the Beller Monastery. On that occasion, as many as 17 brahmacharis took the vow of monasticism, and 21 young men were initiated into brahmacharya. Swami Shivananda was present when the Homa fire took place. That morning he had a chill and developed a bad cold, but today he felt somewhat better. Although physically he was not well, he was in a cheerful mood this morning, and many things were discussed. Suddenly, addressing a newly initiated monk, he smilingly asked, "What name did you receive?" Another monk gave the name of the newly initiated one, after which the Swami said in a solemn tone, "My child, the next thing that happens in your life must come through the grace of God. It is easy to take the vow of monasticism, but a person cannot have supreme devotion and knowledge without God's grace. The Lord is sure to grant the desire of one who sincerely yearns for knowledge and devotion. What shall it profit a man to have the ochre cloth if he does not possess knowledge and devotion? I know from my experience in northern India, for instance in Varanasi, Hardwar, and other such places, where there are many monasteries and people approach the abbots with presents of flour, cloth, money, or similar things, pleading for the Viraja Homa, which is the fire ritual performed in connection with monastic vows. They do not even have the education to pronounce the words Viraja Homa correctly. They say Vija Homa. The abbots go through the ceremony, and lo and behold, they become monks. From that time, they subsist on alms and often start some businesses of their own. Though there are thousands of such sannyasins, how many are there, my child, who crave genuine spiritual emancipation? If one could have as much longing for the realization of God as for the monastic vows, the fire ritual, and so on, one would be immensely blessed. Most fortunate is he who renounces everything for the sake of God realization. The number of such seekers is very small. They do not pay much attention to external dress and the like. My child, whether your dress is white or ochre, direct your attention to the essential thing in life, the realization of God. On the previous day, some of the newly initiated sannyasins had gone out with their begging bowls Madhukari. This is the custom of begging a little food from many houses until a full meal is attained, even as the bee collects honey from so many flowers. In that regard, Mahapurushji remarked, "It is not the general custom to practice Madhukari in this part of the country." After remaining silent for a while, the Swami said with great fervor, "O Lord, all these seekers have come to thy feet. Give them faith and devotion. Fill them." Okay. Do we have any comments or questions so far? Okay, we'll read one more section, 22. Place Bellarmont. Time, Sunday, March 17th. It's just the next day after he's talking to the sannyasins. It was the grand public celebration of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday at the Bellarmont. Swami Shivananda had not been very well, as he had a bad cold. The previous night he had slept fairly well. Many devotees wishing to see the Swami started coming in quite early in the morning, because it would not be very convenient for them to see him later in the day. An elderly devotee saluted the Swami and made inquiries about his health. The Swami, in a cheerful mood, said, "The body is not at all well." Devotee: "What is the matter? Maharaj, didn't you sleep well last night?" Swami: "Yes, I slept fairly well, but you know this body is old. That is why I always have some complaint or other. The body is subject to sixfold change: birth, existence, growth, transformation, decay, and death. That is the nature of the body. Now it is proceeding towards the last change, death. Of course, these changes pertain to the body only. The self which dwells within remains eternally the same. These changes do not affect it at all. The self which dwells within the body is all right. The body cannot be the self. The Master, out of his compassion, has given me that knowledge. Now it does not matter whether the body lives or goes." After keeping his eyes closed for a while, the Swami burst out laughing and said, "Yes, the Master has given me full knowledge within. Now if he wishes, the body will stay. Otherwise it will go. Let his will be done. This body has lived many years, hasn't it?" And number 23, Bellar Monastery, Wednesday, March 20th, 1929. In the morning, a monk from Madras came and saluted Swami Shivananda at the Bellar Mat. The Swami said, "Blessed are those who have not seen me but have faith in me. You are truly blessed. Though you have not seen the Master, still you have faith in him." In the afternoon, a devotee saluted Mahapurushji and with folded hands, "Please bless me." The Swami said, "Of course I bless you. We have blessings only, no curses. We have nothing but blessings, my child." And I think we'll stop there for today. If anyone has any comments that they'd like to make or any questions. Okay.
Have you ever heard any more about them saying that the practice of begging wasn't usually done in that area?
You're going to have to take...
Have you heard anything more about the statement that the practice of going out and begging is not common in the area around Belmont? I mean, I know...
I don't think... no, I haven't.
Okay.
Although the question was, has anyone heard more about that the practice of begging around Bellarmont is not common? The only comment I heard was just lately, when the monks go out in these days to beg, there's so many devotees around Bellarmont that they just barely get outside the door, and there's a raft of people wanting to force food on them. So it's not truly begging. Now, let's see. Tomorrow the topic will be the veil of ignorance. And we just heard a bit about that. Saturday evening we will have the gospel reading at 5 o'clock. And a little advance notice. I think the memorial for Bhavaprana will be on the 4th of December, a Saturday. We'll put it out in our bulletin, but if you're interested, hold that date. Okay, and we'll end with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.